Welcome to Grid Live Wrap-Up. San Diego NASCAR Cup Series, Florida Hot Dog, and first-time winner for the 13th start, prepare for Heim Time, NTT IndyCar Series. We saw Road America, great action, and the drivers go from last to first. What a race for especially Lundgaard, but that's for Supercar Series, and more. Marco Bezzecchi and his disgraceful behavior. Welcome to Grid Live Wrap-Up. I'm Joe San Diego. With me, we have Matthew Brill from Grid Network TV and Grid Rising, and Cody Lambeth from Grid Tonight. A big thank you to our Patreon investors and investors through YouTube. We got Colin, the show, Mark, Robin, David, Matthew, Crystal, Nico, and Gloria, our newest investors through Patreon or YouTube, and of course Super Chat. Jamie leads the leaderboard right now, and you can do Super Chats, buy me a coffee online right here, and if we don't see you because we're not live on the air, we'll thank you the next time we go on air. The easiest way to follow us and support us, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of our programs, and be sure to tune in right here to Grid Network, where we're going to always be on the air right here on YouTube. Subscribe, hit that bell icon, and for your friends and families that love motorsports, share our channel with them. I know already I see Jamie in the chat room. It's Heim Time in San Diego. Matthew, let's get started with the NASCAR Cup Series at San Diego. The last time the NASCAR Cup Series came to a brand new street course, we saw Shane Van Gisbergen win that race in his Cup Series debut at Chicago. He then switched from full-time Replica Supercar Series driver to NASCAR full-year effort in the then Xfinity, now O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, then coming up to the Cup Series. He's been known as being dominant in the road course, but he's proved today he is not fail-proof. Today, in a time when he could have put himself securely in the chase, he messed up big time, and someone else took that opportunity to make it their prime time. I'm talking about Corey Heim in his 13th career start in the NASCAR Cup Series. Took the lead from teammate Tyler Reddick to lead a 23-11 1-2 finish with Bubba Wallace in second place, but 10 seconds behind that. What a big gap between first place to second place. And only his 13th start, he looked great, racing everyone after he fell back a little earlier in the race, not exactly having that good set of tires. He then came towards the front, battled Kyle Larson for position, drove a smart race, and overall making his first Cup Series win come at a track where I think a lot of people were excited about this race, just like how a lot of people were excited about Chicago when it was brand new. So we're going to be talking about this, and anytime there's a first-time winner, I always say it's just a very popular win. I had Heim as my dark horse favorite winner today in the chat room, as what Jamie said. Matthew, knowing Corey Heim is going to be full-time in the Cup Series next year with 2311, how big is this for his career and building up for next year's campaign?
Joe, this is huge, right? And I think I'm one of the few. We can go back to almost every time Corey Heim does well on Grid Network TV. I've said this kid's going to be a NASCAR Cup Series champion in the future. It's just crazy to be able to witness firsthand the first step to that goal for that kid. I mean, he's no slouch by any stretch of the imagination. He's got 26 truck wins. He's got a truck championship. He's won 27.5, if you round up the amount of truck wins, 27.5% of his NASCAR career truck wins. So it just, I mean, the kid's an incredible talent. One of the best prospects I think this sport has ever seen, at least in this century. Or I guess, yeah, the 21st century. Toyota prospects, I mean, they had themselves an interesting day. You had Brent Cruz, Ty Gibbs, and Corey Heim all in the same race for probably the first time almost ever, I believe. So that was just something fascinating. Those guys are just obviously great prospects from the Toyota camp. But, yeah, Corey Heim, what a show. And then this just builds the momentum for him. I mean, this is something, his sixth or seventh race of the 2026 season, at least in Cup. He already has 3 truck wins this year. But for him to go out on a pretty much a part-time schedule with a part-time crew where they're just gathering as many people left at the shop at airspeed to say, hey, can you be on the crew for our fourth entry. And then he goes out and wins the damn race in probably the biggest moment, maybe the second biggest moment of his entire career. Obviously, he's a truck champion. He won that race in crazy fashion, but this is definitely at the top of that list for him. And just what a just impressive drive for Corey Heim, battling Tyler Reddick, who has been the best driver in NASCAR pretty much in general this season, and one of the best on the road courses. And to be able to get around him, I know they made contact a couple times, and then Reddick unfortunately had an issue. But just what a incredible start. This builds so much momentum for that team, for that organization. I hope they consider putting him in the 67 car next year, Joe. I know they want to put him in the 35, at least tentatively announced, but let this kid build a legacy in the 67 car so you could have the 2-3, the 4-5, and the 6-7. But yeah, just to finalize my answer to your question here, absolutely huge for this kid. Our very own Tanner Smith from Grid Rising as well had mentioned in a Pitbox Press article before the season started, he said that Corey Heim was going to get a win in the NASCAR Cup Series this year. So I wanted to give him a shout out. He was right. So overall awesome day for 23XI, but especially Corey Heim tipped the cap. It was Heim time for him today.
Heim time for him. First time in NASCAR Cup Series, the number 67 won a race. Really, seeing what he did today and throughout his career, short career in the Truck Series, what he's been able to do, I think he is just going to be a superstar. And I think this is going to be huge for that team, 23XI, knowing that we got a driver that's going to come here and be a contender for the race wins. We got a driver that already has, I think, a much better pathway compared to just what we're seeing people compare to Connor Zilisch's pathway to get him to full-time Cup Series. Other drivers, I think what 23XI is doing, I remember at times we were talking about he should be in the Cup Series sooner because another team's take him away. Now I'm starting to become a believer, like they know what they're doing, because I think he's proven he is learning quickly and making the best of it.
Yeah, and just to add to that point, Joe, his 10.358 or whatever second win was the largest win for a first-time winner in the NASCAR Cup Series since Alan Kulwicki in 1988. So I know it kind of happened under circumstances with Reddick, but to win by 10 seconds in your first NASCAR Cup Series race is pretty impressive. And he also was the 8th driver ever, I think, in NASCAR history to win their first race on a road course, joining guys in the field like Shane Van Gisbergen and his teammate Tyler Reddick. So I just wanted to throw those fun facts in there. Just like you said, what a great day for him. Truly a generational prospect I think we're going to be talking about for a long time. I also think the kid who kind of made his Cup Series debut for Christopher Bell is another generational prospect we'll talk about in the future. Just he obviously, the car kind of not blew up, but I guess the gearbox kind of blew up on Brent Cruz today. But yeah, overall, what a great event.
Great event overall, and I think for for Corey Heim, it's been really fun to see some of these drivers like Christopher Bell, others that are coming up the ranks and then making something. Corey Heim, the newest driver to do that, and I'm just excited to see what he could do starting full-time next year, but still with his part-time schedule, I think it's going to be just more confident for that. Now, talk about the Heim time and the confidence from there. He is the newest name on the list of drivers to win in the Cup Series and probably the biggest surprise winner since Shane Van Gisbergen in Chicago in his debut year, first year for that track. But now Trackhouse Racing, SVG looked very average. Connor Zilisch fell towards the back. Then when he was working his way towards the front, a restart during stage 2. Austin Hill, closest to that pit wall, missed the apex of that corner. And Zilisch on the outside into that wall, SVG nowhere to go. Right into Austin Hill, trigger a big crash. Not as big as the crash we saw in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. I know, Matt, you're going to be talking a lot about that tomorrow in Grid Rising. But for the two of them, the two Trackhouse drivers that were probably had this race date circled, DNFs. 37th for Connor Zilisch. The struggle continues for this young rookie who saw another driver with fewer starts go out there and win. He probably has to feel horrible about that. That could have been me. Shane Van Gisbergen, 38th. No stage points in stage one. Doesn't finish stage two. He fell to 17th. He is out of the chase right now. And there's only one more road course left. Sonoma. Could today be the race where we look and say, this is the what? SVG missed this chase. Can he still get in the chase? There's only one road course left.
It's going to be tough. I think this date will be a conversation to be had about, was this what kind of, for lack of a better term, screwed Shane Van Gisbergen's 2026 season up? I mean, he was doing incredible on ovals this season, especially for a guy who had never done them up to like 3 seasons ago in NASCAR in general. But he had so much momentum, and then I'm just looking down at the results here. To go from 5th at Nashville to 30th at Michigan to 31st at Pocono and 38th at San Diego, a race that he was a negative odds favorite, which is very unlikely in motorsport, especially in NASCAR, to go into a race with negative odds to go and win. So minus 200 or something, I think he was. And then to get like 3 total points out of it and not even the Xfinity fastest lap, which I think he was up there. And then at the end of the race, Heim had it, Reddick had it, and then I think Kevin Magnussen ended up getting it blistering fast lap for him. But yeah, Shane, this is going to be a race that we talk about that probably ended his chase opportunities. I think the only way he makes the chase at this point is if he has like the best belt to butt performance he's ever had in the NASCAR Cup Series, to the point where he's up so far ahead of everyone that he'll pit to flip the stage at Sonoma and still get stage points. He needs as many points as he can get. I don't think 55 points from a victory will truly be enough without any stage points, especially going into this final stretch before the chase. I think Shane Van Gisbergen needs to get those stage points and a win. And I think if he doesn't win, it's probably, I think Trackhouse just doesn't have it this season in general. And I think he's the main reason why they even have a foot in the door into the chase. For this first season back with it, obviously. But yeah, I mean, Shane Van Gisbergen has truly impressed everyone with what he's been able to do this season. Almost had a steal there in Charlotte, and then his former teammate, Daniel Suarez, ended up getting that one. And then obviously finishing 5th, I believe it was Nashville for Shane Van Gisbergen too. So, I mean, just great performances, but like we've seen, like guys like Bubba Wallace earlier this season, you can have the highest of highs, but once those lowest of lows hit and you don't get out of it fast enough, like it took Bubba Wallace, 5-6 races. He dropped from 2nd to almost out of the chase. Now he's back up to 11. Shane Van Gisbergen very comfortably in the top 11 in the standings. Few horrible weeks, and now he's on the outside looking in. So I think it's going to be very rough for him this season to see if he can make the chase. We'll revisit this conversation around Daytona time, though.
Yeah, around Daytona, this will be another conversation about what's going to look like the chase. But overall, I got to say, pretty much in agreement with you, this was a huge missed opportunity for Shane Van Gisbergen to walk away with so little points. And when you look at the rest, we got Sonoma next race weekend. I almost feel like now they have to, okay, we need to win, but could we maximize as much stage points? Because we need as many points now. Because after Sonoma, Chicagoland. I know we haven't been there in a long time, but I don't think it's going to be as equalized because we're going to tracks like the Coronado Street Circuit or the Chicago Street Circuit where everyone's on level ground. I know the teams, Hendricks, Penske's, you're probably going to look at what can we apply from our past notes to Chicagoland. Atlanta, Georgia, that's a wild card. SVG had a top 10 finish there last time. Can he do it again? North Wilkesboro Speedway points race. That's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be challenging for Trackhouse. Brickyard 400, potential opportunity there, but then you got Iowa, Richmond, short tracks. Shane seems to be not exactly that great out. Just look at Bristol. New Hampshire Motor Speedway, a flat mile over the magic mile, and then it's already at Daytona. And it's no longer win and you're in. It's you got to be up there in contention, and it's going to be really tricky for Shane Van Gisbergen, I think, to make what best opportunities he has left in the chat room. That's one way for Logano to make the chase. Yeah, I mean, keep up there, just finish those tracks. Is North Wilkesboro, Blaney, or Logano track? I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see how that short track goes. Then this one, Matthew, I got to ask you. The battle between Love and Heim for Rookie of the Year should be interesting. Do you have an early favorite?
With all due respect to Jesse Love, as incredible as he is, I don't think the Wood Brothers car is anywhere near the 2311 third car. But yeah, it kind of reminds me of I can't really say it's going to be like Shane versus Riley from, was it last year, where Shane had 5 wins to Riley's barely any top 25s. But yeah, I don't, with all due respect to Jesse Love, it sucks that he's probably not going to have a great first season. I think he can do better than Josh Berry. I think he can do better than Harrison Burton. I think he could do better than Matt DiBenedetto. I think he could do better than Paul Menard. I think if he has Ryan Blaney type season in that car, I think he'll be good. But I think Corey Heim's the odds-on favorite. It just sucks that Connor Zilisch couldn't have been a part of that battle because he's obviously in the Cup Series right now. But yeah, curious to see. Are they even going to classify Corey Heim as a rookie at this point? I know he's made he'll end up having like 17 or 18 Cup starts by his rookie season. I know they did with Ty Gibbs, and then Noah Gragson had a bunch of starts before his rookie year. I think, and then Shane, I think, had a few too. So I guess it all depends on what they classify, but I think they'll absolutely classify Heim and Love as rookies next year, and that's going to be really fun. And maybe some other O'Reilly guys go Cup racing next season too. Not sure though.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to see what those two do, and I agree with you. I think unless Penske is fully back, it's going to be an uphill battle because I feel the way Corey Heim's looking, he has the confidence, he has the experience already. I don't think he's going to be in a situation like Connor Zilisch at the far deep end. He's going to be more familiar with this car. And at the end of the day, I just think Trackhouse has a ways to go to improve their equipment to be at the level where they were a few years ago. Now, we mentioned about SVG a lot, Chicago, of course, that spiraled from his first surprise win there to where he is now. And the popularity of that win plus the Chicago street course. So, of course, with that no longer in the calendar, Chicago was added. Mexico City was added last year, not on the calendar this year. The World Cup's ongoing in Mexico, United States, and Canada. But in this race, these stats, I think, says a lot that this was a pretty good race. 20 lead changes among 13 drivers. We had 7 caution flags for 11 laps. Not a record number of caution, not hours and hours and hours of caution flags, delays, and all that. And the race took 3 hours, 36 minutes to complete. Some of the goods, some of the uglies, we saw Jeff Gluck particularly on social media post on how there were some issues with food shortages from the concession stands. Traffic management plan didn't go exactly well, and some of the logistical challenges fans faced. This was all highlighted on Saturday. I haven't seen much about today, but we know anytime there's a brand new event, those kind of challenges can occur. But overall, how does this event stand out? How do you compare it to the first year of the Chicago Street Course? Should NASCAR return?
I think it was awesome. I think a lot of people, I guess you could say whatever their beliefs are, whatever, having it in Chicago versus on a naval base, but I think they both generated a lot of hype, and I think it was just an awesome opportunity to go to the naval base here at Coronado Naval Base specifically in San Diego, and just what a show. I think at least 50,000 people had to have been there minimum, and just what they were able to do in those 3 races. Unfortunately, like you had mentioned, Joe, it was kind of a logistical nightmare, and that's stuff that happens. You saw it with the Bristol Motor Speedway baseball game. They were running out of food, out of drinks, beer, you name it, all before the end of the game. I know there was a lengthy delay there too, but it's just sometimes they don't plan as well as I guess you would hope they would for these types of events, especially when you know it's a sellout. But then again, you have to look at all the food vendors. Did they bring enough stock of their frozen product in? Did they have enough storage? Did they expect to sell as many pizzas or as many burgers as they did? Probably not. They probably were busy the entire time and then ran out. It happens. They run out at the local tracks too. They run out Watkins Glen, Pocono, you name it. Food vendors run out at places that know what's coming. So for something like this, it's just quite an unfortunate thing. I think the negative Nancys and Neds out there will probably say, oh, this is why it was so bad. But in reality, I think it was a hell of an event. And I hope to hear more from Grids Jackson Lambros, too. I know he was there. So it was pretty cool for him to be able to experience that, being from that area, obviously, with him. And just, I think it was great compared to Chicago. I think the excitement level was probably more for the naval base. The reason why I say that is because the weather kind of put a very dim, I guess it was very dim there. It was a lot of rain, a lot of clouds in Chicago when Shane won. But for Corey Heim to win, too, just what an awesome story that was written for both those guys. And now look how much Shane has done in the NASCAR Cup Series and then what Corey Heim will be able to do. And I think NASCAR, it would be cool if they'd come back. I think it's much more difficult to do it on a naval base, I think, than it was the city of Chicago. I think when I believe I had a conversation with Ben Schneider before on one of these broadcasts. I don't know if it was Grid Encore before Grid Rising took over, but we had mentioned where they could possibly go. And one of my answers was if they don't go back to like a San Diego, they don't go back to Chicago, which I believe they are going back to Chicago next season just because one is still a rumor, but Chicago land did not really sell any tickets at all. And that's just an unfortunate thing why that track died out in the first place. But if they could bring it to either the Las Vegas strip where Formula One does it, have a modified course there, I think that would be cool. Or NASCAR brings it to, fortunately with logistical and politic issues, up to Exhibition Place in Canada, I think would be a really cool opportunity to get that market, bring back at least the NASCAR Cup Series to a different part of America, even northern North America and Canada. So, yeah, overall, I think it'd be awesome if they could go back. Maybe they find a different type of military base to go to. And then I know I'm from Rome, New York, obviously. There were rumors when I was really little and even before I was born that our old Air Force Base was going to become possibly a NASCAR track. I don't think they wanted to put the funding up for it to happen. But, hey, Rome will always welcome NASCAR. We had Richie Evans and Jerry Cook. I think we could welcome the sport one more time if they wanted. But, Joe, your thoughts? I mean, you obviously are very familiar. I know Portland had a racetrack. They do have a racetrack. NASCAR doesn't go there now, unfortunately. But what are your thoughts on a street course? Should they come back, and then would you want it maybe closer to home to you?
Well, I'll be biased. I would always like to see a NASCAR Cup Series race closer to the Pacific Northwest. It's a valuable market. Just unfortunate, it's so hard. I know there's always been the rumors about Seattle downtown, but to close Seattle streets for a Cup Series race, while I would love to see that in person, I just think that's going to be a lot of logistics for the city of Seattle. The Cup Series, when it comes to the space, I just don't know how they're going to make it. Maybe utilize the area by Lumen Field, by T-Mobile Park for the garage area. Be almost similar to the old Gran Turismo Seattle Street Circuit track from Gran Turismo 2 up to number 5. So I always love to see the NASCAR Cup Series tap into the Pacific Northwest market. Of course, Portland International Raceway still exists, but the infrastructure needs a lot of upgrades. I mean, great crowd for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, then the Xfinity Series, but they just need to do some upgrades for that. When it comes to San Diego compared to Chicago, I feel like, hey, you had the better weather situation. You sort of had the storylines of Shane Van Gisbergen. Can he repeat what he did in Chicago years ago in that first race? You had Kevin Magnussen in 91. Could he do what SVG did when he came with Project 91? All these great stories. I know, of course, with the Navy, their celebration of 250 years, that all played into it as well, too. The street course looked great. The fact that Amazon Prime had their broadcast booth in the tower of the aircraft carrier, I think this all looks really great. Can they do it next year? I think if they can, they probably will. I see it where they're in Southern California, a market they also want to hit up. Auto Club's gone. I mean, I'll be really shocked if it comes back in a short track format. So they want to hit this market. They want to keep this market. At the end of the day, if they were to come back, I think they will. Could be a 2-year run, but a street course, especially with the military base, is so much planning, so much logistics, so many different stakeholders involved. I just don't know how feasible it will be long term. But we'll see what happens at the end of the day. I think this is going to be a great event. I think the fact that we have a first-time winner, Corey Heim, I think while a lot of people remember SVG's win in the first race at Chicago, I think with Corey Heim, especially if he goes next year and starts winning racing as a championship contender, everyone's going to remember his first career win came at San Diego. And look where he's doing now. Nothing against Shane Van Gisbergen. He's a talented driver. But he has the experience of going road course racing to oval racing. Corey Heim, you're defending NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion. Grand ovals. Look what he can do in the road course. He could be a really big superstar. And for 2311, he is, I think, one of the future drivers, if not probably the future driver for them. Jamie, it was a net positive, but I'm certain this is a one and done for having a race on any military base. Yeah, military base is always tricky to organize. I know south of the border, we saw NASCAR Mexico was on a military base during the air show, so they made that work. So we'll see what happens. And then poor Christopher Bell and his season. I mean, he gets out of the car and still the transmission blows up on Brent Cruz. It was just like, is that car cursed or something, Matt?
Yeah, it seems like it, honestly. I do feel bad. And Jamie actually pointed out on Grid Rising, he said if there's any shocking guys to miss the chase this year, it would be Christopher Bell. And sounds like he's getting closer to possibly being right. So I always appreciate Jamie for commenting. But yeah, Christopher Bell after where did he win? Does it had North Wilkes when he won the All-Star race? He's kind of been just not Christopher Bell like at all. And he still does well. But you could argue like Kyle Larson, like those two are some of the best drivers in this sport, and they have not won in a very long time. I don't think Bell's won this year, right? No, it's just been Hamlin and Gibbs for at least Joe Gibbs Racing. So, wow, that's crazy. And then Bell, obviously, I think this would have happened if Bell was in the car too. I just feel bad for Brent Cruz that he got in the car, was having fun running in the top 7, and all of a sudden, kaboom, when he tried to shift. So.
Yeah, just absolute no luck in that 20, and it'll be interesting to see what happens if Christopher Bell misses that chase. I think there has to be a lot of hard questions. Do we keep Adam Stevens there? Do we need to make some changes? I think a lot of people point at the injury he sustained at Michigan, and, well, he had to step out of the car. Maybe he could have had a better day, but at the end of the day, that's all what ifs. It's going to be what happens after Daytona, and of course we'll be following all the action as we get closer to the chase. Before we let you go, Matthew, what is your shining moment from the race weekend?
I think pretty obvious would definitely be the entirety of that 2311 organization, especially Corey Heim Time, winning your first career Cup race. First win, I believe, for the number 67 car, too. Him keep that legacy in that car. And then as well as, obviously, Corey Heim winning, Tyler Reddick leading a bunch of laps, Riley Herbst having an incredible, almost a legacy performance for him, finishing 8th on this winning stage. And then Bubba Wallace going from, starting 12th, I believe it was, up to first, taking the lead, leading some laps, then pitting, losing a tire, going to 39th, 2 laps down, and then going back to finish second. I mean, that whole organization just had a hell of a day. They had 4 cars in the top 6 at one point with like 8 laps to go, and then it started falling apart for Tyler and Riley. But yeah, what a day. I think 2311 just overall, especially Corey Heim's one shining moment for me. But obviously you guys have some crazy things to talk about. The rise of Cam Waters, he's back. IndyCar, a non-Alex Palou race winner, so shout out. I'm not going to spoil that for you, and then Formula E, just kind of a belt-to-butt performance for the driver who won that race, and then some chaos over in MotoGP. So not really a shining moment for that, but yeah, overall, what a heck of a race weekend. Tanner and I have so much to talk about on Grid Rising. And Jamie's one shining moment was 67 going to the winner's circle for the very first time with the future rookie. Yeah, absolutely. So at Grid Rising, we're going to have a lot to talk about from the other series. So much that I think there's even a race going on as we are live right now. So that's how much we are covering there. But overall, thank you, Joe, for the opportunity. Almost done with the NASCAR Cup Series recap, so please check that out on gridnetworktv.com. And I think that's all I got today. And then I will finish up that story for you guys.
And we encourage everyone, gridnetworktv.com. Matthew Bro, thank you so much. On Grid Rising tomorrow with Tanner Smith. Plenty to talk about tomorrow. Thank you so much, Matthew. And now we'll go ahead and bring in Toby Lambeth from Grid tonight, because we're not done yet. And in another impressive win, this time for the NTT IndyCar Series for Christian Lundgaard.
Yeah, and what a drive it was for the Aaron McLaren driver today, as the XPEL Grand Prix at Road America started with Alex Palou escaping down the road after winning his 5th straight pole. And a little fact for you all, the last driver to win 5 straight poles was during the late 90s, and that was Alex Zanardi, who was also a Chip Ganassi racing driver at the time. So Chip Ganassi been lucky to have a pair of Alexes who have been extremely good for his organization over the years. But behind Palou, there was contact on lap 1 between Christian Lundgaard and Scott Dixon. Lundgaard suffered front wing damage and a left front puncture as he pitted. They changed the nose, tire change, and then he came out in last place. And given the timing of some of the full course yellows, Lundgaard was able to make a valuable track position and put himself in a position to pass at the end. With 4 laps to go, the Aaron McLaren driver passed Marcus Armstrong for the lead as the number 66 Honda was fading with an engine blowing up, which eventually brought out the caution and set the field up for a 1-lap shootout. Lundgaard survived the final lap to earn his 3rd career NTT IndyCar Series victory and his 2nd of the 2026 season. This is the first time that Lundgaard has won more than one race during an IndyCar season, and he ended up holding off David Malukas and then Will Power taking the final spot on the podium. Joe, given the lack of speed this weekend before today and the lap 1 incident, how impressed were you with Lundgaard's perseverance to victory lane?
Very impressed, and I did not see this coming, especially when you look at the way the weekend was going. For a while, Nolan Siegel was looking as the strongest McLaren driver for the weekend. So I really thought this was going to be a struggle for the McLaren team. Then we had that first lap, and I just thought, well, okay, that's the last time we'll hear of Christian Lundgaard. Best of luck to you. Hope you have a wonderful day and trying to make the best of it. No, him and that team really rallied, worked hard, and just positioned themselves to be the beneficiary of some of those cautions. And I think this is really great how we're no longer, this caution is going to ruin somebody's race. Let's hold it off, make sure everyone can pit. No, it's just, we got to throw the caution. Here comes the caution. I think that really made it to where, for Christian Lundgaard and that team, it just made it where they were able to capitalize on such moments. This is part of motorsports. It's just the way it goes. I really applaud how we made that rule change. And for Christian Lundgaard, after he crossed the finish line and said, how did we do this? I bet there's probably still some people there today saying, how did he do that? Last place, first lap, to get the win. I mean, he put himself in a good spot for second place if for some reason Armstrong's car was able to hold off. But with that engine blue, it was game over. And at the end of the day, Lundgaard, great restart to get such a big lead away from Malukas and all the mayhem behind him. He has to feel really good trying to stay in that points battle with Alex Palou and David Malukas. Kyle Kirkwood, missed opportunity as well too. So this is huge for him. And I think it just really shows that this McLaren team, while it's great, Lundgaard's a 2-time winner. I think they need to start surrounding him with other drivers and making changes within the crew to ensure all their drivers have potential to win.
Yeah, Joe. As you mentioned, it looked like Nolan Siegel was going to, be the top Aaron McLaren driver of the weekend, and I also want to give him a shout out because I feel like although we've been critical of him, over the last year or so on this show, he's taken a lot of steps forward as an IndyCar driver. Still not, where you would like him to be, but he's clearly, taking a step forward in the number 6 Aaron McLaren Chevrolet. And if you saw or read Marshall Pruitt's silly season report this week, they said that Nolan Siegel has basically already been informed that he's not coming back to that car next year, and he was on chance to get a top 10 finish today at Road America, but ended up getting spun out there at the end on the final lap. So heartbreaker for him. But he was definitely looking like one of the top Arrow McLaren drivers all weekend. And getting Christian Lundgaard, if you saw, practice, qualifying, it looked like it was going to be a long weekend for that number 7 team that, it just did not have the speed. And it looked like the goal for today was just going to be just try to salvage something, out of this weekend and try to, collect as many points as you can and just stay out of trouble. And after the ends on lap 1, I was thinking, Lundgaard's back there. He has damage. He's probably not going to be able to do anything in this race. And then he got really lucky, with some of the timers of the cautions. And then I don't know what they did to the car, but they found the pace that hadn't been there all weekend. And then he, was able to pounce there. I know before the full course caution came out from Marcus Armstrong's blown engine. That's another, heartbreaking situation there, Marcus Armstrong. I feel like if it wasn't for that engine failure, he could potentially have been in position to win his first IndyCar race. Just a heartbreaker for the Kiwi there. But Lundgaard, he was on a different level today. And I know when we look at Arrow McLaren, for the longest time now, we always look at Pato O'Ward as the number 1 driver there. Given the performances we've seen out of Christian Lundgaard this year, I'm not sure if he has an official number 1 driver status right now at Arrow McLaren, but I have to say that Lundgaard, probably has to be, looked at as like we have to have a conversation. Who is that number 1 driver, Arrow McLaren? I think you could start making an argument that Christian Lundgaard, could be that guy. And we know that for Lundgaard, that this is a contract year for him and looking for a brand new deal. And we talked about after he won the Indy Grand Prix race, I think it was our own Tanner Smith who said that, Arrow McLaren needs to lock this guy down before it gets more expensive. And so far we haven't, seen a deal been announced. And if they haven't come to terms with him yet, be like, I'm sorry, Zach Brown, the CEO of McLaren. It just got more expensive because your guy just won another race. And I think Arrow McLaren would be silly to let this guy walk because what he did today, was extremely impressive. And, not just from the driver's side, but from the mental side as well. Just think about what a driver has to go through, Joe, in the moments that happened to Christian Lundgaard. Think you're already not going to have the best day because of the pace, and then you crashed into the back of another driver at the start, and then you have damage on a flat tire. You have to limp it around. At that point, most drivers, they would have thrown in a towel, right? And they've been like, that's day over, that we're just not going to compete. But some way, somehow, Christian Lundgaard and that number 7 Arrow McLaren team found a way, and they stuck with it. And of course, they had some luck with the timing of the cautions, but they were able to rise to the occasion when it mattered the most. And I just thought it was one of the most impressive drives of Christian Lundgaard's IndyCar career so far. And I'm going to repeat what Tanner said last time after the IMS road course race at San Diego Grand Prix. Arrow McLaren, if you want to keep your guy, you better sign him now because he wins another race. The asking price is going to keep going up.
Yeah, the asking price is going to keep going up. Christian Lundgaard, he's going to get the attention of the other teams, so it's going to be very interesting to see how he all performs for the rest of the year and what McLaren does. Because with the Nolan Siegel and other stuff going around, the rumors of Felix Rosenquist, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, who knows what's going to happen there. That's Zilisch season report Marshall put out. It's crazy, saw all the different scenarios that we could see, and they were actually said on the broadcast today. And Marcus Ericsson told them, don't believe everything you read and all of that, because there's just a lot of moving parts. We're probably going to see something come straight out of left field in regards to IndyCar Series season and really shake some things up. But I think after a performance like today, Arrow McLaren is going to be working 24/7 to try to get Christian Lundgaard re-signed, and Lundgaard is going to be an even richer man than he already is. And getting back to the action on track, on the final lap, there was an incident between Will Power and Graham Rahal while battling for the last spot on the podium coming into Canada corner. Power tried to make a move on the outside of Rahal when both drivers made contact. Rahal's number 15 Honda went spinning off course into the gravel from a podium finish at Road America to 23rd with only a few corners to go. Just an absolute heartbreaker for Graham Rahal in his number 15 Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing team, because he was literally just a couple of corners away from getting another podium finish this year in IndyCar, and he went from podium to 23rd just like that, and just on a single lap. And after the race, Rahal told Motorsports journalist Christopher DeHard that he felt frustrated with Will Power, and he said the Andretti Global driver has made a lot of rookie mistakes this season, and he believes that the pressure is just getting to him. And according to Bob Parkers from Fox Sports, Power said that he believed that Rahal jerked the wheel in the direction of his car, and he felt like that there's nothing he could have done differently in that situation. So, Joe, in your opinion, who was at fault here? Will Power, Graham Rahal, or do you just view this as a racing incident?
Honestly, I feel it is a racing incident. But at the same time, I can't fault Graham Rahal for feeling that, hey, Will Power's under pressure because it's pretty easy looking at the results Will Power has this year. It is not the kind of season that Will Power will look back and say that was a good year. He's been struggling since he joined that team. One podium, we thought, oh, things are going to change for the better. It has not. When you look at Graham Rahal, he was going for another podium. We know Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan is not exactly the top Honda team. But when he could go there and say, hey, I'm getting these podiums occasionally, I'm helping get this team the right way. I mean, really, if Will Power had no push pass, I think we'd be talking about Graham Rahal getting that third place finish. The two of them are racing hard against each other. Neither one are going to give up. Neither one of them are going to give each other an inch. And with that inch, that was the difference in the contact and Graham Rahal going out of the race. Frustrated, I could 100% agree with Graham Rahal that he is frustrated with that. Is it totally Will Power's fault? I don't know. Maybe if this was Will Power fighting and he's leading the championship, he might reconsider like, okay, fourth place rather than third place or reckon. But Will Power does not have that. He's just trying to get something positive for him. So I think it's a little bit of the pressures there, but this was hard racing. That's my take on Kobe. I don't know if you have a different take on that.
And this is a rare moment on this show where, as Matt White would say, I actually disagree, Joe, respectfully. I watched the onboard footage that Fox showed afterwards of this incident, and I'm actually not going to say it was a racing incident. I'm actually going to say that this is the fault of Graham Rahal in this situation, because I saw Will Powers on board. It looked like he held his line, and then it looks like Graham Rahal came up that it was a not clear moment. So I feel like in that situation, based on the onboard of Will Power, like he held his line and looked like Graham came up to the left. So I want to say that Graham Rahal wrecked himself in this situation, but I do understand Graham's frustration, when he says, what he said about Will Power, because I have to be honest, the Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan racing cars, they were pretty much out to lunch, this weekend. I mean, Mick Schumacher showed some speed and all of that, but in his case, it did not translate over. It did not translate over to the race. Yeah. The practice was good for Mick and all of that, but when qualifying came around, did not have the pace, and then and then in the race as well, did not go well. Louis Foster also did not have the pace either, and Graham Rahal, he was struggling as well. So it was not a good weekend for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan racing. But with the way the cautions fell, Graham Rahal was in position to basically steal a podium spot here. And Graham, he knows where he is right now in his IndyCar career. He's not in contention to to be on the podium all the time, and we already know he's already done that this year. And to have another opportunity to do that, Graham wanted this podium so bad. So despite the RLO cars not having the pace today or this weekend at Road America, it seemed like he was in position to have a really good result, and to have it taken away, just like that, whether it was his fault, or the other driver's fault, Will Power, it's a strong sense of frustration, because he knows that this was a missed opportunity, that he's obviously not going to get back. And we know Will Power is having a tough season. So I do get why Graham is throwing off on Will in that situation, that he's making a lot of rookie mistakes this season. And in Will Power's defense, I think some of the things that happened this year have been Will's fault, but some of it's also been out of his control as well. So I think it's more like a mixed bag there, rather than saying that Will's just making a bunch of rookie mistakes and feeling the pressure, in those situations. I think it was just a heat in the moment reaction there from Graham Rahal, and I tend to agree with Will Power in this situation. Like, what more could I have done? Yeah. I encourage anyone go to the IndyCar on Fox social media handles, and they showed onboard of Will Power, and from my perspective, I could be wrong, but from what I saw, it looks like Will held his line perfectly, and Graham Rahal was the one who came up to the left, and he was not clear and ended up wrecking himself. So that's how I feel about that situation. But if you guys feel differently or agree with me, let me know down in the comment section. And now moving on for the second straight race, we've seen Alex Palou and the number 10 Chip Ganassi racing team have a hiccup. At Gateway, strategist Barry Wanzer left Palou out on the track too long and ran him out of field, costing them 2 laps, which resulted in a 17th place finish in the St. Louis area. And then today, Palou made an uncharacteristic mistake by speeding on pit road. He served his drive-through penalty, and he but he was also helped by the timing of the full course caution. So like as Palou was like serving his penalty, that's when the caution came out. So if it wasn't for that full course caution, Palou would have been in, he would have been further back in the field, but he was able to recover from that speeding penalty to get a top 5 finish. Ended up finishing P5 today in Elkhart Lake. And despite Palou leading the championship, the standings by 60 points over David Malukas entering the next round in Mid-Ohio in early June, I believe. Did these mistakes in the last 2 races show that the number 10 team can be beaten in this championship?
Absolutely. It proves the number 10 team is having issues when it comes to perfecting their races. And that has always been their strength, was they seem to be picture perfect almost each and every week. And when there are times they make mistakes sometimes to get lucky. And we thought that was going to be the case with that pit road spitting penalty. And then here comes the caution. Roman Grosjean loses the wheel. Okay, this is the break. He's going to find his way to be back towards the front. But Kevin Simpson showed, hey, I'm going to race you hard. You might be my teammate. You might be the championship leader. I got to race for my future, too. I got to race for my team, my sponsors. So give credit to Kevin Simpson for racing his teammate, Alex Palou, pretty hard throughout the race. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to what can the other teams do? David Malukas, great effort. I think that was really good to get himself up towards the front. Kyle Kirkwood missed the point. Then you have Christian Lundgaard getting that win. That was really key as well. So at the end of the day, when it comes to the number 10 team, they're going to have to clean up some of their mistakes, some of their flaws. If they do that, again, they're going to be really hard to beat. But if they don't do, and they still have some of these mistakes where they're just pushing one lap too long, pit road spinning penalty, especially if you got rev limiters, you shouldn't be getting these kind of penalties. The other teams have to step it up and be ready to pounce at that opportunity, because if they don't make the best of that opportunity, then they're going to miss out. I mean, the season's going to be coming down to the end quickly before you know it here. And I think for Palou, I don't think this shakes his confidence up. It doesn't shake up the confidence of Barry Wanzer or the team. I think they're just going to say, hey, we made the best of what we could do. We still have the points lead. Let's just go out there, focus on doing everything how we've always done it. Minimize the mistakes, put ourselves in a good position. And it's Alex Palou and his number 10 Honda. He always puts himself in a good position when it comes to qualifying. Just do what you know you can do. Approach each race with little to no additional pressure.
Yeah, for sure. And looking at this number 10 team the last 2 weeks, I still think they're obviously, going to be the favorites for the championship, because they're too strong, I believe, to collapse in the championship at this point. But I guess never say never, right? They got 60-point margin. He's inching closer. Be like if something goes terribly wrong, he finishes badly. Then Malukas and the others, they'll be right there. If they're able to capitalize on that. So this championship is still far from over, but it's been very interesting seeing cracks, in the number 10 team the last 2 weeks, leaving them out too long at Gateway, running out of field, and then the Dead Road America pit road speeding penalty, which was, it could have been really costly, but it's like Alex Palou has his golden horseshoe or something that even though, he ended up screwing his day there, it could have been a lot worse, because the timing of the caution was just perfect, where he didn't lose as much ground as he would have, if it wasn't for that caution. If the other teams and drivers want to have a chance to beat Palou, they're gonna have to, they're still gonna have to step up their game, because even when the number 10 team is off their game, they still seem like to find a way to try to make the best out of it. And I felt like Palou was able to salvage something out of today. I feel like, he probably should have won this race, but given the timing of the cautions and then the mistakes, it really put him on the back foot, in this situation, and it improves this number 10 team can be beaten, on a good day. And today, the lucky driver who benefited from it was Christian Lundgaard. But all in all, I thought it was a great race today for IndyCar Road America. In my opinion, one of the best road courses in North America and in the world, and saw a really great crowd today as well. And next up, the IndyCar Series will get ready to travel to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in just a couple of weeks' time. And next, I believe we're going to talk about a little bit of controversy that happened over in Europe with MotoGP.
Oh, I would say it's a bit more than just a little bit of controversy that occurred in MotoGP, and this one, it is big. The Grand Prix of Czechia at the Brno circuit produced multiple storylines. And before we get to the Grand Prix, let's talk about the major controversy that occurred during Saturday's sprint race. For the fourth time this year, Aprilia factory rider Marco Bezzecchi crashed out of a sprint race, leaving more points on the table for the championship leaders to catch him. This is when Bezzecchi, after he fell off the bike, slid into the gravel, got back up on his feet, ran towards his fallen bike. Now, we've seen multiple MotoGP riders do this because they want to see the condition of their bike. He pushed a track marshal in the face. And then it gets worse, because not once, but twice out of anger and frustration, this occurred. At the end of the day, it looked like the second one appeared to be like a slap. MotoGP officials were not pleased with his behavior, so they decided to suspend him from today's Grand Prix, and his appeal to compete from Aprilia was denied. Bezzecchi put out a statement, apologized for his action, and he actually approached the marshal he put before the Grand Prix, gave him a huge hug, and apologized for his behavior face to face. TNT Sports spoke to the marshal named Václav, who said he appreciated the apology from Bezzecchi, had no hard feelings against him over the incident, and wished the Aprilia factory rider well for the rest of the season. With Bezzecchi scoring no points this weekend, he still leads the championship by 8 points over teammate Jorge Martin. And of course, we'll get a little bit later into the winner of the race and really scored in a lot of points. In the grid ranking, he lost several positions, but he's still in the top 10, Marco Bezzecchi. That'll be updated later tonight. But Kobe, do you agree with MotoGP's decision to suspend Marco Bezzecchi from the Grand Prix? And could this come back to haunt him at the end of the season?
And in the words of Stephen A. Smith, how stupid can you be? I said because, like, my goodness, Marco Bezzecchi, I'm extremely disappointed in that in what you did during that sprint race on Saturday. It was, just a despicable thing to do. And if you've been following our shows here at Grit Network long enough, we always go out of our way to thank the marshals, regardless of what racing series it is, all over the world in the series that we cover. We believe the marshals at the racetrack deserve the utmost respect because they do their best, to keep everyone safe. To make sure the racing surface is in good condition, to put on good racing. And without them, we will not be able to put on any of these great races that we enjoy every single weekend. Yeah, so we always give a big shout out to our marshals for all the hard work that they do. And when you think about how hard these marshals work, and then you see Marco Bezzecchi, just literally just push the marshal in the face. He literally did him like this. Yeah, not once, like you say, Joe, but twice. You literally just shoved him in the face. And I've never seen anybody put their hands on a marshal face like that. And it's just a really disrespectful thing to do. Like, I understand, Bezzecchi is frustrated. This is the fourth time he's crashed out of a sprint this year, leaving a lot of points on the table. So although he is leading the championship right now still, despite getting suspended from the race, Marco Bezzecchi, his championship lead could be a lot bigger than what it is if he didn't make those mistakes and crash out of the sprint races this year. So he's leaving a lot of points on the table. So I do understand why he's frustrated in a situation like this, because it's another day where you left those points on the table. But at the same time, regardless of it being a heat in the moment situation, you have got to control your emotions in those moments. Like, you can be angry about the situation and all of that, but it should never rise to the level of taking out your anger on someone else who has nothing to do with, the mistake you made on track or whatever circumstance end up taking you out of the race. The marshals are just trying to, they're just trying to do their job. And that's what that guy was doing. I know Marco was probably frustrated, with how he was like handling his bike, but it should never get to the level where you're putting your hands on him, and not just putting your hands on him, but literally just putting your hands in his face and shoving it twice. So I feel like MotoGP made the right decision to suspend him from the Grand Prix of Czechia today. I know some people were like, that was a little too far, that they should have just fined him instead. But hey, these guys make enough money, right? So any fine they would have given him would just been a slap on the wrist. So I feel like that MotoGP had to send a strong message that if any rider decides to, disrespect the marshal in such a way, that we're going to drop the hammer. And I feel like they were as aggressive as they could have been end this situation by telling Marco, look, what you did was egregious and wrong, so we're going to sit you out for Sunday and make you watch from the sidelines. So I feel like the punishment definitely fit the crime. And for Marco, I really like that, after he put out his apology statement, he just didn't let those words speak. He actually took action. He actually went up to the marshal who he shoved in the face and actually gave him a hug and apologized for the situation. I know usually, Joe, in these situations, you'll see, a rider or a driver put out this little PR crafted statement, and that's that. They just put out a statement that was probably written by somebody else just to say, I'm sorry. And then, they actually don't learn anything from it. But for the fact that he put out that statement and actually went up to the marshal, and said, I'm sorry for what I've done to you, and, give him a hug. I don't like me and you or anybody else, we're not going to know for sure if that was truly genuine or anything like that. But I'm glad he at least took some steps to try to right that wrong. And I hope that he genuinely meant, that apology that he said to that marshal. And I saw TNT Sports, which covered MotoGP. It was really nice to see the marshal talk about the situation. And he basically said his name was Ladislav, and he was really nice about the situation. And he was like, I understand why Marco was upset in the moment, but he was like, he was appreciated the apology, and it was like there's like literally no hard feelings between me and him. I just wish him the best of luck for the rest of the season. So thought that was a nice moment there that the marshal like, hey, no hard feelings, it happened, and we're just gonna move forward from here. But all in all, I think MotoGP made the right decision to suspend him from the Grand Prix today. And looking at how his championship lead has narrowed quite a bit, after not being allowed to compete in today's race in Czechia. This might be the race we look back on, Joe, at the end of the year when we're recapping the 2026 MotoGP season, and we're going to be like, this was the day that Marco Bezzecchi lost the 2026 MotoGP World Championship.
100% agree. This could be the day where we look back and say, this is when he lost it. Because without a doubt, this is a non-championship move at all. Just absolutely disgraceful behavior from him. I get it, the heat of the moment, but I can't recall. I know people say, well, long ago, James Hunt punched Grace Marshall. There's no way any driver today, whether it's F1 or the local levels, get away with that. These volunteers that go out there to ensure we could race safely deserve the most respect. Marco Bezzecchi going out there, apologizing directly to him, putting out that statement, that is showing, hey, I'm really going to own up to my mistake. And I think that is something that's going to say a lot going forward. But he does need to clean that up where he got to control himself, because at the end of the day, the championship pressure is going to get harder and harder. And if those mistakes occur, he cannot afford to do such a thing. Because I was a little bit shocked that Aprilia tried to appeal it. I was like, I think that should have been something where Aprilia said, hey, we expect better from you. You represent our factory, our employees, our team. You got to act with class. That was very non-class-like. When you look at the track action from Bruno, the Ducati factory team took opportunity this weekend. They swept the weekend with Pecco Bagnaia winning the sprint race on Saturday. Then on Sunday, with 8 laps to go in the Grand Prix, Marc Marquez passed teammate Pecco Bagnaia to lead off and held off a challenge from Pulsar Agari to win the Grand Prix of Czechia. Just a month ago, we were saying about the last race weekend, it was 27 days ago. Marc Marquez was 100 points back, recovered from double surgery, got his first win. Now, 4th in the standings, only 40 points behind the championship leader. And you got to remember, with the sprint races each and every week and the Grand Prix, he could come back quickly after gaining 60 points in the last 3 race weekends. Is Marc Marquez truly back in the championship fight, and can he become the favorite?
I think it's time to start taking Marc Marquez seriously, as a championship contender that he can potentially go back to back. It seemed like the Ducati factory team has kind of gone off to a late start, but it seemed like, as we get into the summer months, they're really starting to hit their stride right now. With even Pecco Bagnaia was having success this weekend, which is something, we haven't really said a lot lately for him, as he's been struggling, like since like the start of last fall here in the Northern Hemisphere. It just has not been going well for Pecco. To see him get a sprint race win, was good for him, his morale in that side of the Ducati factory garage. And then to see Marc Marquez come out, outduel Pecco and Augura, the Trackhouse Aprilia rider there. You show, Marc Marquez, despite coming off, injury and surgery, that he is still, riding at a top level, and he's going to continue to heal over time, assuming he doesn't hurt himself again as he's done in the past. And it really seemed like Mark and the Ducati factory team are in a real good situation right now, that they have the potential to go out there and take this championship from both factory Aprilia riders, Marco Bezzecchi, who ended up costing himself today, and also Jorge Martin as well. And it's really crazy, because when he was 100 points back, we're thinking, yep, yeah, the championship is over for Mark. There's nothing he can do. But if he can go out there, and do what he did last year during his latest championship winning season, if he go out there, if he can try to finish on a podium in the sprints or whatever, and the Grand Prix as well, try to win as many of them as possible, before we know it, he's going to be leading this championship this year, despite missing a couple of races. And it would not surprise me if Marc Marquez ends up becoming the favorite for this year's MotoGP World Championship again, because I think it's just a matter of, can he stay healthy? If he can stay healthy, I think he can outscore both of these Aprilia factory riders and get the job done once again for Ducati.
Yeah, very likely you get the job done for Ducati. And at the end of the day, when we talk about another miraculous Marc Marquez season, I think as long as he keeps putting together these good races, putting himself in the hunt, it's going to be an exciting MotoGP championship battle between him and the Aprilia factory riders. MotoGP will be fun throughout the year right here. Two more series to quickly go over before we end the show. Formula E and the Repco Supercar Series.
In Formula E, they were in their first race in China this year, as Andretti driver Jake Dennis took the pole, fastest lap, and ended up winning. The Sanya E Prix was also a great weekend for his teammate Felipe Drukovic as well for much of the race. Both of the Andretti drivers were in the hunt for the win at the front of the field. And one of the biggest movers was Pepe Marti in that Cooper. He went from 18th place to a runner-up finish. So an impressive drive for the Formula E rookie, and Nick DeVries ran out the podium. Mitch Evans, championship leader. Although he's still leading the points right now, he ended up, retiring from the race. And Evans is lucky because he still has an 18-point lead over Oliver Rowland, who also did not finish the race or score any points. And to make this even funnier, Eduardo Mortara, who's third in the championship, also retired from the race. So the top three in the championship all retired from the race, and they stayed there, which is, really, really crazy to think about. So that's really the only reason why Mitch Evans wasn't penalized, because the two drivers behind him in the championship, they also retired from the races. All of them were involved in that big crash in the hairpin corner as they got stacked up. And then when it comes to the Repco Supercars Championship, saw three different winners during the Darwin Triple Crown race weekend at Hidden Valley Raceway. We saw Cam Waters take race 1, Kai Allen take race 2, and we saw a breakthrough performance from Team 18 in Chevrolet in the final race of the weekend, Anton De Pasquale taking that number 18 Chevrolet to the top step of the podium at Hidden Valley Raceway. And after Darwin, Brock Feeney is still leading the championship standings over Matt Payne. And Anton De Pasquale, after his win, he's up to 6th in the championship. And some of the big news we saw heading into the final race of the weekend, we actually had two drivers, ruled out for race 3 at Darwin. With Brody Kostecki, he was not feeling well at all, so he was ruled out. And then they had his co-driver for the Enduros, Todd Hazelwood, was drafted in for that final race. And then we also had Thomas Randall, the Tickford driver. He was battling severe dehydration after his cool suit had failed in the Supercars medical team deemed he was not fit to compete in the race, as Randall, was feeling very weak from that failed cool suit and the dehydration. So they actually had co-driver and also now Supercars TV broadcaster Mark Winterbottom stepped in last minute. It was a real crazy situation there with Mark Winterbottom, because he was literally in his Supercars broadcast uniform calling the races, and then he had to. It was like literally a last minute, like 11th hour thing. He had to jump out of his clothes and into a fire suit, and had to basically go cold turkey and compete in this race. And although did not have the best performance in Thomas Randall's cars, that's still a good job, considering the fact that he was completely unprepared to race this weekend, and he had to be drafted in, completely unplanned at the very last minute. So got to give a shout out to Mark Winterbottom there for stepping in, at a last minute's notice to try to do the best job he can do, because having no preparation and then driving unexpectedly, that's one of the most difficult jobs you can do, in any form of racing like that. But, looking at more at Brody Kostecki, he's still fourth in the championship despite missing around with his illness. And, Thomas Randall, he's not currently in a provisional finals position, currently outside the top 10. Randall's actually down to 14th in the point. So missing a race actually hurts him quite a bit. Not as much as Brody, because, Brody's already, up there in the points. So he could afford to miss a race. But with Thomas Randall on the outside looking in, he's someone who cannot afford to miss a race. So that was not the best thing for him. And considering, Supercars had this finals playoff format, do you think that made it easier for a team to have Brody sit out despite, not feeling well?
I think it did, and this is something I feel really, I think it's something where we need to think about when it comes to motorsports, how champions crown, and then also what if somebody's injured or hurt and they're trying to compete for that championship. I know we're talking about Brody Kostecki not feeling good, feeling ill, so the team said, hey, sit out, rest up, take it easy, so that way you could come back. We have a system where the points are going to get reset, then you have a bracket style elimination, similar to what we used to have in the Cup Series. Look at today over in the Cup Series. Christopher Bell started the race, gave the seat up to Brent Cruz. Unfortunately, his day still ended very early with transmission issues. We want the championship to have some of the biggest names in each respective series, whereas Supercar Series, Formula One, IndyCar, everybody wants to see their popular drivers up there fighting for the championship. And the last thing people will want to see is somebody missing a race because of illness, injury, and that takes them out of the championship picture. Compared to stick and ball sport, where it's a basketball player, baseball player, football player, soccer player, football, internationally, the team will win and you can substitute players. Not exactly in motorsports. It's very much on the individual. That's why we focus more on the drivers' championship. Constructors' team championships are always second behind the attention the drivers' standings get each and every season. So while I know there's a lot of flaws with the Supercar Series format, and particularly after what we saw last year with Brock Feeney and Chaz Mostert taking that championship, if there's one thing I would say I do like is you can miss a race. Yes, you'll still have a little bit of a drawback because you might be lower seed when it comes to the reset, but it's not as big of a penalty as what a driver that missed 3 or 4 races and there's no reset. Those are just races they scored 0 points. I think it's a good discussion for other series to have. Maybe we have a system like what Formula One used to have long ago, where some of your worst results, where it's like your one race worst result gets dropped. So everyone has that one race result, your worst finish is dropped. Maybe that could be something in the future for other series to talk about. But I think it was something where we know it's like, hey, in the case of Brody Kostecki or any Supercar Series driver, they're going to be out, but they're still in the championship hunt because of their season overall. That's great. I think that's better, healthier for the sport.
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully Brody Kostecki and Thomas Randall will get better by the next time the Supercar championship is competing. But I guess this was kind of like a reward for the good season Brody is having since he's up there towards the top of the championship, that he can afford to miss out on a race and that he can get himself well and come back better next time. And, Thomas was just so dehydrated, it wouldn't have been a smart idea to have him out there. So I think they did the best thing for him. I'm sure they were trying to save Thomas from himself in that situation, because I'm sure if it was left up to him, he would have tried to, push through and try to go out there, but it might end up costing Thomas a chance in the finals this year. It's interesting how this, how if you're doing really well at a certain point and something happens in this championship with this finals system, that a Supercars driver can miss a race and not really be penalized for it much. Yeah, and all in all, it was an interesting weekend, at the Darwin Triple Crown at Hidden Valley Raceway. And we're coming in an hour and 10 minutes on our program and getting a little bit late here on the East Coast. So I believe we're almost out of time for tonight. So it's time for our Grip One Shining Moment from this racing weekend. So let us know down in the chat, what's the one thing that stood out to you the most from what happened all around the motorsports world, whether it was from the NASCAR Cup Series racing on Naval Base Coronado in the San Diego area, or IndyCar at Road America, MotoGP in Czechia, Formula E in China, or the supercars at Hidden Valley. Let us know down in the chat whether you're watching live or on replay. And I'll start off with you, Joe. What's your one shining moment?
This is one of those occasions where I have two one shining moments. Pepe Marti in Formula E, what a drive from 20th to second place. I know Formula E traditionally is known as that series where a lot can happen. It's unpredictable. Sometimes you chance your way towards the front. The way his season has been going, he has some lows of lows, but he's got some points. He's getting better and better each and every week. And I just think he is showing what he could do with that Cupra team. So that is my first shine moment. The second one, a driver that has had some good success, but hasn't had the exact luck. Sometimes the results will show it. Zane Smith, 4th place finish today at San Diego. We saw what happened to him in Pocono. He had some good runs here and there. Keep doing runs like this. I think he could show like, hey, to that team that didn't believe in me, left me to go to front row, I want to prove I am still capable of going out there, getting wins, and racing, contending. So Zane Smith and Pepe Marti, those are my shining moments.
And my shining moment has to go to 2311 racing driver Bubba Wallace. I know you guys talked a lot about Corey Heim and gave him his flowers as he, ran an impressive race today on the streets of Naval Base Coronado in San Diego. But I want to highlight Bubba Wallace because this guy always talks about how he's a horrible road course racer and how, these are the races that he just hopes to survive and just keep all four wheels on the racetrack, that he has that he feels like that he's so awful at these races. But what Bubba Wallace was able to overcome today was extremely impressive. I feel like from the time he first started in the Cup Series, where he was truthfully, not the best road course racer out there. And I feel like he's an underrated road course racer now that he's put in on the work and he's improved a lot on these racetracks. And after his wheel fell off in the middle of the race and, they held him for 2 laps, he got back on the lead lap and he came from 2 laps down, thinking the race was probably over at that point. And yeah, because you go 2 laps down in any race and you're like, yep, that's day over, that we're just gonna, have to just ride around and just finish where we finish and all of that. But he got back on the lead lap and he stormed through the field because his car was so fast and able to get a runner-up finish behind his teammate Corey Heim. I know Bubba was extremely disappointed because he really wants to win so badly, but I think that this is a day that him and his team can hang their hat on and, hold their head high because today was the best performance I've ever seen from Bubba Wallace on a road/street course, and it just shows how much he's improved at this style of racing. And if the circumstances arise like an SVG crashing out or a Connor Zilisch crashing out like they did today, and I think Bubba could potentially win a road course or street course race someday, given how much he's improved at this track, because he drove with a lot of confidence today, and the team gave him an extremely fast number 23 Toyota. So Bubba Wallace, my one shining moment, because he persevered. He did not give up and ended up getting a very strong result. I know second place is disappointing for him, but I think it's something like he'll reflect on it and think, wow, I did something special this day.
Very special day for Bubba Wallace all weekend long. I mean, just looking, some people may have saw the memes of Bubba Hamilton. Really great to see him have that good weekend, maybe start putting together a run towards the chase. We are all out of time, but we want to again thank all of our investors through Patreon or YouTube paid membership. Calling the show, Mark, Robin, David, Matthew, Crystal, Nico, and Gloria. Plus everyone that does super chats, buy me a coffee, Jamie leads that. And of course, Jason's in second place. And encourage everyone to follow us across social media at Grid Network TV, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, TikTok, and of course right here on YouTube. Subscribe, like, and share with your family and friends that love motorsports. And once again, Matthew Bro will have his article up on Grid Network TV, plus Isha Bashwa working on her NTT IndyCar Series wrap-up. For Kobe Lambert, who will be on the air Wednesday, and Matthew Bro, who will be on the air tomorrow for Grid Rising, I'm Joe Samaniego. Thank you for watching today's program. We'll see you next time.